Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 2635.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hey, it's Mike. Did you know I'm 54? Hey, what's the deal? I'm 54 years old, and I like to say I feel younger, but that's typical of most people, because even though we're old, your age is a number. But it's interesting because
Mike's Daily Podcast.
You've been around a while, you start to think, how much longer am I going to be around? I've been around a while.
Mike's
When you're young,
Daily
I'm going to live forever.
Podcast.
I'm going to learn how to fly.
Yeah!
Hi! But when you get to 50s and you see people that you knew pass away, and that's just the tip of the iceberg in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Oh, gosh.
What in the world was that about?
I saw it through my mom's eyes. Wow, a lot of her friends passed. She was the last. She had a group of friends. She was the last one standing out of all of them. And, oh, wait, no, there's one. I forgot about Ingrid. Yes, my mom was German. All of her friends, her lifelong friends, were German.
Baloney.
So they all had names like Hildy, Gertrude.
Awesome.
Altrude. There's some interesting names. But then Ingrid, and I'll say this about her. It's funny because my mom was totally right-wing. Ingrid, and I didn't know this until later. My mom would call, I'd talk to her, I always called my mom, and mom would sometimes call me, but she would tell me, I talked to Ingrid, she made me so mad because she's totally left-wing and she hates Trump and I get so offended, and I don't want to talk to her anymore, that kind of thing. But Ingrid is the last one standing.
And here's today's podcast picture.
It's not a picture of Ingrid. She used to call me Little Sugar. And I'd call her Big Sugar, which you don't refer to women in any way big. You don't say the word big. No, not a good adjective. Just saying, if you want to be in the old gentleman's club, the gentlemanly, chivalrous, I don't know what club that is exactly, but the podcast picture is instead not of the gentleman's club, which that sounds bad. It's about, because today is the 4th of July as I record this, and it's a very festive, patriotic-looking waffle that I made. And the late, great Basil the Boxer. We enjoyed many a 4th of July together. And it wasn't until towards the end, and he passed away around this time 3 years ago. And some memories of him are just totally stirred these days. His spirit is always with us. But yeah, I remember quite a few. Towards the end, that's when he didn't like this. For the longest time, he was fine with fireworks. And then towards the end, that's when they really started to bug him. To the point, I remember he beat up a yoga mat. There was a yoga mat, and he went and he ripped it up. We weren't around to see it, but we noticed that one of the gashes in the yoga mat completely matched his paw. So if the paw fits, you can't acquit. You're guilty. The point is, I'm doing a lot of pee-popping into this microphone. I apologize. I'm one of the few podcasters that apologizes for the crappy way that their podcast sounds. 90% of the podcasts out there sound horrible. And I think everyone needs to work on it. They really need to work on it because they sound bad. But Ingrid's the last one standing. And Ingrid lives somewhere in Bishop, I think. So a beautiful part of California. And she always traveled all the time. When she retired, she was going down to I think some part of Mexico along the coast, and she'd go fishing with her husband, and they ate healthy, very healthy. And I remember her lecturing my mom decades ago. This was in the late 80s. She came over to my mom's house, and my mom made salad, and my mom used iceberg lettuce. And Ingrid lectured her, "Oh, no, you can't use iceberg lettuce. This is just filler. There's no nutrition in here. You need to use spinach, kale, that kind of thing." She was ahead of her time. So she's the last one standing. The point is...
Burger Master.
I don't know what the point is, but I'm going to use Ingrid as a model of which way I should be. I'm going to use her as a beacon on the horizon I need to point my ship towards, because that's where I think that's the way for longevity.
Fair and unbalanced.
I looked through my mom's phone books after she passed, looked everywhere, all my records with that I picked up from my mom, all the papers and documents, could not find Ingrid's phone number. So who knows, maybe this podcast someday will land in her ears somewhere, somehow. But today, and speaking of which, today is Independence Day, and Bishop is not too far away from a town called Independence. And I just remembered, it's been knocking around in my head, why is 4th of July so much, why does it always remind me of John Mellencamp? And it's because he had a song on Scarecrow.
This is interesting.
Wow, this is interesting.
Right?
Wine.
Well, I like
The whiny white man wine list.
I know John Mellencamp gets a bad rap these days. And Bing gets a bad rap because I'm trying to open up what the album Scarecrow by John Mellencamp has, and it's not even, I'm clicking and nothing's happening. What? So from memory, let me think. There was
MTV News. You hear
Blood
it
on the Scarecrow.
first.
Trying to remember from memory. Oh, it finally opened.
Oh, Mike, you're such a creative soul.
It had also the big hit was Small Town. I was born in a small town, and I breathe in a small town. Lonely Old Night was the first single. It's a lonely old night. Can I put my arms around you? Justice and Independence was the name of the song I'm trying to think of. About a couple, like the girlfriend's name Independence, the boyfriend's name Justice and Independence. I think that's how it went. Rumble Seat was another single. That was the last single off the album. It did pretty good. But then Rock, R-O-C-K in the USA. That was a big hit. And You Gotta Stand for Something or You'll Fall for Anything. Some great songs on that album. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Face of the Nation. John liked to comment on society as a whole, as the things in the government that were bugging him. And he did that with the song Pink Houses. And Ain't That America to You and Me? And I think George Bush Sr. wanted to use that as his campaign song. And he said, I think you need to listen to the lyrics of that again, George. It's not really a song that's pro anybody like you. Just so you know.
It's Bison Bentley's. Do you know that?
Hey, this is Bison Bentley, and Mike Matthews has a couple of stories that'll make you want to ask yourself, do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that?
I think he was born in, he's 71. Wow. Keep going, John. Love your stuff. I mean, I have so many John Mellencamp albums. Even the ones in the 90s that nobody listened to. I think there's one from the 2000s that I got. That's all great. I love it. And you know what I don't love is people that go, I love it. I love it. I love it. Because sometimes they say they love it, and they're just saying it just to say stuff. They're not they're being very insincere between a laugh and a tear. It's National Barbecued Spare Ribs Day. Oh, that's a wonderful idea. Great memory with my mom. I invited her over. I was renting a room in a duplex, And it had a little area that I could... oh, that's right. I had a boss in Ventura, California. When I worked for the country radio station KHAY, my boss, Mark James, got everybody on his staff some kind of grill. It could be a small gas grill or a big one. The big ones he gave to the people that were married. I was single, so he gave me the smaller one. But it still had a pretty big surface area. And I remember cooking spare ribs on that and burning them to a crisp. And my mom would tell this story later, yeah, and I know you had people over, and I tried to look like I was enjoying eating them, but they were like just charcoal. Parents. The things they do for us. And one other thing, let's see. Oh, it is the National Workaholics Day? Is that true? Well, it is National Caesar Salad Day. And make sure, you eating Caesar salad usually with iceberg lettuce, as I recall. Or no, romaine. Right. I don't know if that has a little more nutrition than iceberg. And it's Alice in Wonderland Day. Not sure why. But that would be the interesting book that, I read that, and through the looking glass as a kid. I was so entranced by whoever the illustrator was for that, the original book. Those drawings were amazing. And then, of course, Walt Disney made it into a huge film, and then later Tim Burton did something with it. I don't know what that was. But, hey, it had the guy that played the dad from Back to the Future. So that was pretty interesting. I guess the point is that it is one of those days where it's bizarre because the holiday is in the middle of the week. We're all like, oh, yeah, it's a holiday today. It's a holiday. Oh, I got to go back to work tomorrow. It's just basically a Sunday where, I got to go back to work. So there's a lot of talk about Barbie, the Barbie movie. Airbnb is offering a free stay at Barbie's Malibu Dream House. I don't know if that contest is over with, but they were doing that. And, that whole Netflix thing of cracking down on the people that were, you'd have several people using the same account, and they crack down on people that aren't in the same household. Well, Costco's cracking down on shoppers sharing membership cards to use at self-checkout. Although Costco is the third largest retailer in the world, it actually makes most of its profit from membership fees. $4.4 billion in the last 12 months. Employees at self-checkout are increasingly asking shoppers to show a member card with their photo. It has to have a photo. It can't just be the regular one that they give you. Well, and let's see here. Warren Buffett, do you know how much he's donated? $4.6 billion. Now, most of us that doesn't even register. That will never register. But since 2006, so he just donated $4.6 billion. So far, though, since 2006, he's given away $51.5 billion.
Yeah.
After giving away tens of billions of dollars, though, his wealth is still worth over $100 billion. How does this all work? These mathematics. And he's more than twice as rich as he was 17 years ago. He says, my will provides that more than 99% of my estate is destined for philanthropic usage. So that's going to have wide-reaching effects, I would say, to a lot of us. Let's see, there is Amazon Prime Day is coming up. July 11th and 12th. And apparently it's going to have invite-only deals. So there'll be a bit of difficulty getting the same regular deals. Are you going to be invited to them? I'm not sure exactly how that works. Let's see. Optimism around cryptocurrencies appears to have been stoked by the launch of EDX Markets, a new crypto exchange launched by Charles Schwab and Citadel Securities. So that's still lingering around. Cryptocurrencies. Crypto. And we were talking about recently Tesla creating this huge charging station with over 100 charging stations, a charging station area out in Arizona near where a lot of RVs tend to go. And they are apparently also, Tesla wants to lead the charge with the EV revolution.
And now we return you to our regularly scheduled program with Mike Matthews.
Let's see, Rivian is the third U.S. EV maker to announce that it will start using Tesla charging ports on its vehicles so owners can take advantage of Tesla's growing network of fast chargers. Currently, there are about 1,800 Tesla supercharging stations across the country. So this would probably be a supercharging station, what I was describing in Arizona. But right now, California, Texas, and Florida have the most supercharging stations. Yes, there's a bunch in Florida. California has 358 supercharging stations. However, Hawaii has only one. Superchargers let EV drivers recharge in as little as 30 minutes. Rival charging stations that are publicly traded include ChargePoint, Electrify America, EVgo, and then access to its chargers was part of the Inflation Reduction Act, which sent billions in spending and tax credits toward Tesla. Wow. So you and me gave money to Elon without even knowing it. And finally, after years of hype, access to actual robo-taxi services is becoming a reality for thousands. There's Alphabet's Waymo. There's General Motors. They have something called Cruise. The services work just like Uber and Lyft. Use an app, confirm your pickup location, plug in your destination, and wait for your ride. When the car arrives, a tap in the Waymo One app unlocks the doors. In San Francisco, it is the only city in the world where two players are running driverless services for the public 24/7. Waymo's cars are pretty conservative, often driving below the speed limit, and the ride can be a little jerky in times. In encounters with pedestrians, the robotaxi tended to play it safe. The rides are considered smooth and comfortable by those who've been riding on them. The music selection wasn't bad, according to one person that was riding on them. Drivers and pedestrians didn't seem to be happy with the robotaxi, though, because they're driving like your grandma. No offense to grandmas out there, but you're driving kind of slow and careful. But slow and steady wins the race. Waymo's current fleet consists of about 200 cars in San Francisco. Cruise, though, the General Motors Cruise, meanwhile, is averaging about 1,000 trips a day. And the company's goal is to hit $1 billion in robo-taxi revenue by 2025. The Waymo One app already gives riders in the area a sense of what the service would cost. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, look who is out here in Podcaster Valleyton. Hello, Michael Masters, Madame Rootabega, and I love fireworks. Oh! Do you like sparklers? Yes. Do you like those snakes, those things that you light and then it just makes this weird foam stuff, but it's basically a bunch of ash pop out and it looks like a snake? Yes. Do you like potato salad? No. Oh. Yeah, a lot of people having potato salad today. That's what I'm missing. I'm missing John Mellencamp and potato salad. Oh, that's the problem. I need a little bit more of that. You know, I've been thinking a lot about my college days and all this loan forgiveness stuff not happening and whatnot. And I'm just thinking about colleges in general. and how we pay all that money basically for prestige. I don't know. I mean, there are good professors out there. Maybe a professor changed your life. But it just seems like so much, when you look at it from way, way, way back, these, 800,000 foot view of it all. Boy, that's far up. It just seems like they're just so much money, and it doesn't go down. It keeps going up, the prices for tuition. What are we getting out of it? It seems to have run amok. I feel like there's a bubble there. Is there a bubble there in academia? Now, where students are not going to have their loans forgiven, the colleges, they're going to be hurt the most. They're going to be like, wait, well, people can't afford going here, so, and there's only so many scholarships we can give away, so. But I think back, I went to UC Santa Barbara, and I had a special deal with my mom. She'd help with my education. I would help her. I worked it out. We agreed to only make it 4 years. I'd be done in 4 years, which meant that I had to work my tuchus off, and it meant that, well, I was pushed pretty hard.
Life grand.
I mean, I can't, the whole concept of one of the things that a college has prestige over is some kind of football or basketball team that's associated with them, or some other team. And they're known for it. And I don't get that. I never got to go to a Gaucho basketball game. I don't think I did. I know I walked past quite a few because I could hear people cheering in the Thunderdome there in that gym at UC Santa Barbara. The only good thing about it all, I didn't get to enjoy that while I was in college. But I had been out of college about 20 years. And I got the chance to see the Killers perform at my old gym. And that was pretty cool. I was like, okay. I finally getting to have fun years and years after being out of college. But you think about it, and you're paying for the fact that this school has a well-known football, basketball, whatever, sports team, tracks, the whole setup. Their whole department is good. Athletic department is well known. Why are you isn't the whole point of college to learn stuff and to get you equipped to do great things in the world? Instead, we're just paying all this money. And professors, typically, in movies and television, they're depicted as these guys that are kind of, they live in these nice houses, and they're a little bit quirky and weird, but they're supposed to be super smart, and they do things that they're not supposed to do, have relationships with students, that kind of thing. And they just come off as, professors, to the general public, the way culture depicts them, or media, I should say, fictional culture, fictional creations make the professors look like let's just say they're not worthy of all the money they're getting. Or are they getting a lot of money? I called up a guy recently who does a podcast for a well-known university in the Bay Area. And I was talking to him because I thought, maybe he could do his podcast. His elements of his podcast could end up being on one of the radio stations I work for. So I was talking to him. First, the problem with him was he didn't even know what AM radio was, or he never even listened to AM radio. I think he didn't listen to anything. Maybe all he did was consume academics. But yeah, why? Oh, and then he apparently couldn't spend any money because in order to have a program on the radio, there has to be some money spent, and he wasn't willing to do that, or the college wasn't. I'm like, really? You mean the college makes all that money off of tuition and you can't use any of it? Oh, but that's for research. all that's for research and to advance, to keep the prestige, to keep the reason why this college is hailed by everyone is the tremendous research and the discoveries that they make. That, of course, I'm cool with. If you're going to make scientific breakthroughs and have groundbreaking research, that's wonderful. But the whole why on earth do we pay them so much money? So that was on my mind recently. It actually woke me up out of a deep sleep. I don't know, I was dreaming about college. It's been years since I've been out of college, but I was just, why? And I'm not a parent. I'm not going to, I'm the parent of a cat. I have a cat who almost vanished, by the way, yesterday. He got out of his harness. He's an indoor cat, but we let him outside with the help of a harness and a very, very, very long leash that we have tied up. But he can go basically all around the backyard. Well, somehow he got loose and he disappeared. And I thought, oh, that's it. And then I am a big fan of Bing. I was a big fan of Bing before they got the whole generative AI chat GBT thing. And yesterday they had a picture, because Bing always puts pictures on the front, and it was of a coyote. And I thought, oh gosh, this is bad. Because I think I lost a previous cat that we had, Rodler, that I featured podcast pictures of him. And you can see all the past podcast pictures at mikesdailypodcast.com. He just vanished about almost 2 years ago because of, we think, a coyote might have gotten him. And that is typical in Podcastro Valley. There are a lot of coyotes everywhere. And we've seen them walking down the street in the neighborhood. So, yeah, I don't want... Rocky is the cat we have, the indoor cat. That was actually, I think, on the last podcast or the podcast before. He tends to pop up on the podcast. Definitely in the podcast pictures, which you can see at mikesdailypodcast.com. But he just happened to walk back into the house. We left the door open, and without the harness or anything, he just came back home. And the cat came back. He didn't want to stray. He was sitting on the porch the very next day. The cat came back. He didn't want to roam. Very next day, he was home, sweet home. Thank you to the Muppets for teaching me that song. But we're going to get to the segment that is called the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud in just a moment. But first, I have to say hi to these two.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, thank you so much for talking about all that stuff like Ingrid and the whole thing with UFOs and stuff.
Yeah, UFOs! Do you know that? I didn't mention UFOs at all on the podcast. Are you trying to get me to talk about UFOs?
Yeah, it'd be nice if you talked about UFOs for once day, Mike.
Yeah, UFO! Do you know that? How about Adele? I'll talk about her. She has a few choice words for concert goers that have recently been throwing stuff on stage, like ashes. Somebody threw someone's ashes on stage. Adele declared fans to throw something at her. Hey, go ahead and throw something at me, she said. This is at Caesars Palace Hotel and Casino in Vegas. Have you noticed how people are like, this is what she said, how people are like forgetting show etiquette at the moment. Throwing things on stage. Have you seen it? I dare you, she said, dare you to throw something at me. And she was jokingly brandishing a t-shirt gun on stage. Stop throwing things at the artists. Artists have been facing more and more. Oh, yeah, one of them was that BB Rexha getting hit by something thrown on stage. Stop throwing things at the artists. Artists have been facing more and more concerning and bizarre attacks from fans over the past few weeks. And yes, that's just ridiculous. So people can't remember the concerts that they're going to, a la Taylor Swift, and they're just throwing stuff willy-nilly at the artist. I don't get this whole concerts, man. There's just no reason why I would ever go to a concert again. Unless it was something my lovely lady friend really, 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 really wanted to go to. But like I mentioned in a recent podcast, Brian Ferry was the last person I saw in concert. And that was worth it. That was worthwhile. It's worthwhile going to see the people that maybe later on in years, because you don't know how much longer, as I was mentioning earlier in the show, it's just, I'm calling back like crazy right now. I must be almost at the end of the podcast when you're calling back. Or is it when you're near the end of your life, when you're starting to have all these weird memories of past things? Is that why people, as they get older, write their memoirs? I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And I've been thinking about, for some reason, exactly 10 years ago, I was in Foster City. And I had just split up with my ex-wife, and there were some common friends that we had in Foster City, and they invited me over for their big fireworks show that they do every year. So I went over there, and it was kind of weird because it was like one of the first times I'd been over at their house without my ex-wife. They were actually better friends with her than me. And there I was hanging out, feeling awkward, and I was wearing a shirt that mentioned Indiana Jones. And Indiana Jones, the movie, out now. I'm hearing it didn't do as well as they thought.
Live and loco.
I'm sitting there, and it's a shirt with a line from The Hangover. And it says, and there's a picture of a man purse. You know those bags that some men carry around all the time, carry their stuff in? It's basically a purse. And I carried one around for years. I'd say for like a decade, until smartphones became prevalent and I finally got a smartphone. I'm like, everything I need is in my smartphone. I don't need to carry around this bag. But the picture said on my shirt, said it's not a purse, it's a delivery bag. It's a newspaper bag, and Indiana Jones had one. It's not a purse. It's called a satchel. Indiana Jones wears one. That's what it was. And this person at this party, they looked kind of like they were from the tech world, a young person. They were like, is that supposed to be ironic? Yes. Anyway, that happened 10 years ago. That's the 10-year anniversary.
Will you shut ups? Liberty Nation Freedom Phone for All.
There's not apparently going to be an Indiana Jones 6.
I can't believe.
Well, they said a lot of people didn't think an Indiana Jones 5 was going to be made, but who knows? We'll see.
What
but
the hell is this place anyway?
The headline from Deadline.com says Indiana Jones and the Box Office of Doom wide Dial of Destiny at $60 million for their opening, that's how much they made, isn't setting records for franchise finale. And that there's no question this is a disastrous result for the finale to a historically beloved franchise. Okay. But to see performers that may not be around much longer, that would be good to see. I mean, maybe that would have been a good idea to go see Phil Collins and Genesis one last time, as it was the last show. But I guess if it's a brand new band that not everyone has heard of yet, and you like their stuff, that would be a worthwhile show to go see. Like this here with the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. We got some new songs to play for you. And the first one, and these were all emailed to me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. And, I got a call. Actually, before we get to that, let's get to the segment called the emails from email thing.
Oh, my God.
Email from email. And your calm and not so calm mess.
Here's the call that I got, 510-228-4640, if you would like to call me.
Hey, Mike. Hey, I hope you're having a great 4th of July weekend and week. I just want to tell you to enjoy your show. And I enjoy listening to all those interesting radio things you do. Like when you were back on the radio in Ventura County, I think that was cool. And I think maybe you should play more of that. Play that all the time. And have your cat on the loft.
What?
Because cat's cool, too. Okay, I gotta go. My name is Rick. Bye.
Rick Bye. Is that his name? Rick Bye? 510-228-4640 if you'd like to call me. Boy, that guy wasn't altering his voice in any way at all. Okay, now the segment, and that's the segment, the emails from email and your comment, not so comments. Here is the first song that was emailed to me, Mike's Daily Podcast at gmail.com.
We love you, Mike.
This email says, "Hi, Mike.
That's why we pay Mike the big bucks.
This song was inspired by the story of Private Eddie,
absolutely,
add the extra zero,
an indigenous soldier and resident school runaway who was killed in World War II and is buried in the Rome War Cemetery. I visited his grave there and later met his surviving family. To our knowledge, this is the only time Eddie has been visited in that cemetery. I chronicled this story in an article published in Maclean's Remembrance Day issue 2016. It's an emotional and gritty song that depicts the atrocities of war and how the youth of the world perished in World War II, and also a sad reminder of how far from home Eddie is because he's not buried with his kin at the protected National Historical Site of the Manitou Mounds." Let's listen a little bit to this by the band called the Tuesday Nighters.
With the other kids, home and proud. White man's war, far for free. They're shutting our back, they can't feed. His mother cries from deep in her lungs.
The Tuesday Nighters. I can only play a little snippet of it, though. But if you want more, go to YouTube. That's where I found the song, the Tuesday Nighters. They've only got 5 subscribers, so we need to build that up. And I love YouTube in the fact that there are so many concerts you can go see on YouTube that are pretty recent, or they are older. You can catch bands that don't exist anymore, or artists that have long since passed. But yes, why go to another concert again? Basically, when you got so much of it on YouTube. But people want that experience. The experience that they're going to just simply forget. Here is the next song here on the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. And this is, a Canadian rock band that is called Odds. Canadian rock band Odds have announced their long-awaited 7th studio album, Crash the Time Machine. It's a vibrant painting of struggle and the community that both feeds it and transcends it. The band goes in new and exciting musical directions while retaining the dark, ironic signature that has earned them a place in the hearts of listeners for over 3 decades. Their newest single is Walk Among the Stars. Let's listen to a little bit of that. Odds is the name of that band. Cool. It kind of reminds me of some 80s, 70s rock bands like the Cars or something, but that's maybe not your cup of tea. Maybe this is Lonely Cinema, A Mission of Sin by Hillotrons. It says, "Hi, Mike. Inspired by film scores of the 1960s and 70s, Lonely Cinema, A Mission of Sin is a 19-minute, 16-second fantasia." Ooh. And let's see, do we have a little bit of this Lonely Cinema? Okay, let me play you a little bit of this. We're about halfway through the song here.
It was that new fad that held the cab for your children to come and play with me. There's some bed with Johnson, real
Electrons is the name of that band. Lonely Cinema, Omission of Sin, a 19-minute song. We heard a tiny bit of that. I can only play a little bit or I'll get dinged by YouTube. Okay, this is a new band, a new song, a new album by Strawberry Runners is the name of this band. It says it's a song. Oh, Look Like This is a song from their album. It's a song about egos, distortions, depression, the contradictions of the false self, and finding the boundary between imposed perceptions and one's own spontaneous reality. Finding this boundary for yourself is something we should all strive to do in our image-driven world. The attention is to gather energy to break out of oppressive thinking patterns and find clarity. Strawberry Runners is the name of this band, and here's a little bit of the song called Look Like This. Strawberry Runners is the name of that band, featuring, what is the name of this? The lead singer of that band? I'm looking up her name. I think it's Emile. Let's see. No? Huh. Well, the name is... Oh, yeah, Emile Knight. Emmy Knight. Sorry, Emmy. That's who is singing this. This is the first song that Michael Cornier O'Leary and I worked on together production-wise. Interesting. We actually recorded another version as a straightforward rock power pop song with the Philly band a few years back, but it never felt right. And so there you go. And the last song is a remake of one that you probably know. It gets played all the time on the radio by different radio stations that always seem to gravitate towards this song. Fits all kinds of different formats, but mainly ones that want to play stuff from the 90s. This is a band called The Man Who. Hi, Mike. Dreams by the Cranberries is one of those incredible songs that can transcend time and space. It's a song that paved the way for a whole generation of music, so it was such an honor to get to put our own darker spin on it. The whole experience was therapeutic. We played with the arrangements and tones and transformed it into something that could reach a whole new audience. Let's listen to The Man Who and their cover of Dreams.
They'll come true. Possible not to do. Possible not to do. Now I tell you, don't believe.
Interesting. Wow, that is pretty different. I wonder if he does the thing that Dolores O'Riordan did, that thing at the end. Let's see. No, I guess not. All right, well, which one of those songs did you like best? Give me a call at 510-228-4640. You can call, leave a message, or you can text that number to which song of those 5 did you like the best? And I will announce the winner on the next podcast if I get any calls or texts or votes. So do that now so I can do that. 510-228-4640. And with more ways to reach me, here's Ariel.
First of all, I just want to thank everyone for joining us here on this show. This is great.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.